I'm gonna get emotional now. I was like doing meth at age 14. Like, I'm just happy I'm alive.
You know, you get sober and then you start buying into the whole, I'm not just staying sober, I want to enjoy my life on top of being sober.
I always say like, I'm sober, I'm not a saint. All the things that I was trying to like run away from about myself are still there. I just want to be good with myself, you know what I mean? And I feel good with myself, you know, like I do. Starting a business that I had no idea what I was doing, and then like having a kid really young. And it was like, you know, just these like big, like my life was such a roller coaster, I guess. I'm almost so used to high highs and low lows that when it's just like kind of calm and I just don't even know what to do.
It feels uncomfortable.
I was having panic attacks for the first time in like 2 years. Like I'm crying because I'm like relieved, but I'm also like crying because I'm like, it's sad what I put myself through. There's only 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like tomorrow is a new day. That's it. That's all. That's whenever I'm having like a shit day, I'm like, I get to start over again tomorrow.
Welcome back to Rooted Recovery Stories. I'm Patrick Custer, your host, and so excited to be here. We're nearing the end of National Recovery Month this year with someone who I have grown such a fan of and close to with so much distance in a very unique way until we finally met in person yesterday. Leah McSweeney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, I was thinking about this last night because we did just meet yesterday, but whenever we communicate, whether it's on text, whether it's direct message, I've done the show before and we got to talk then. I have such a warm like spot like in my heart for you. Like when you asked me to come here, like I would never, like of course I'm gonna come. You know what I mean? So when you find good people, like when I find good people, I stick with those good people. So I'm very happy to be here in person in Nashville.
Yes. Thank you. Words. I think those are great words to live by. And I subscribe to that as well. It's like your first time to Nashville. I always get excited when I get to be a part of someone's first experience here.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you were saying clearly you live in a city that is probably more highly visited by the world and the rest of the country, you know, New York City versus Nashville. But I was telling you how like I'd just been to New York City for the first time last year. I wasn't even thinking about how like we both within the span of a year visited each other's city for the very first time.
I can't believe that you hadn't been to New York before.
I know. That's and everyone I say that to is blown away.
Yeah.
I know you've been here less than 24 hours and not seen very much at all. But do you have any?
No.
Do you have any first impressions? Any experiences?
Yes, because the second I got off the plane, the lovely people that work for the airline, even the ones that weren't on the plane, but like were in the gate area, were like, thanks for flying with Southwest, y'all. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like people in New York don't do that. Like when you fly into LaGuardia, no one's like, thanks for flying with us. They're like, like literally, you know. So and the men on Bumble, that's how I judge the city, you know. Hot.
Very cutesy, very I can't. I'm so on this kick right now. I love Are they demure?
They're very cutesy.
I love that. Wait, did you talk to any of them? Or
I mean, just I'm not like I mean I'm you know just matching like in a couple little things back and forth. I didn't like go hang out with anybody last night or anything like that. But I'll come back here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back here at some point and spend more time here.
Yes.
Yes.
I would love that for sure. Okay, so you just said one of my favorite words that. I wore these socks just for you. I've never worn them on the show. They were gifted to me, and there are not a lot of opportunities in my life where I get to wear them because I have to be a little buttoned up in lots of my. So I apologize to anyone. I mean,
I already know what they say now, and I know what I said.
But they're very applicable to you and me. And I don't know if you can zoom in on the camera, but they said, do you see?
Oh my God, I love them. Sober AF.
Sober AF.
Those are so good.
Thanks. I think so too.
Yay.
I love a good pair of fun socks. And heck yeah.
Look at these.
Cute. Leah is always, she's an icon. She's a legend.
Oh, Wendy.
I know. Bless. Bless. How So we can cut this part out, but sorry, I have to, and I don't know if we'll leave it or not.
Or we can leave it in. What?
Yeah. How is she, is there, because I don't know, I feel like I can't keep up.
Well, did you watch the documentary?
Yes, but then I thought.
And her family is suing them.
What?
Her family, her estate
Weren't they
is
part
suing the thing. Yeah, but I guess they thought she was going to make more money, and she only made like 80,000, and they're making like millions or something.
Oh, gross.
Also, I guess like I have to read more about it, but you know, she started making that documentary. From what I know of, she agreed to do that documentary. It was supposed to be about her comeback. And then what they saw was very, oh my God, I was like hysterical crying watching it.
I don't know that I finished it with any hope about her. You know, like it was like what I remember, you know, you think about like, because it was months, maybe a year ago when I watched it.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And what I remember from it is like her being so downtrodden and like,
sick,
like
and
in her couch bed, you know, like talking about, I think she was selling her place where she was living, wasn't going to stay, or something like that. Really sad about it.
I think she's selling it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it didn't feel like a very positive place, and it didn't end on a high note.
It was like shocking.
Yeah.
Really disturbing, actually. Yeah.
And so that's where, like, how do I put this? She struggles with stuff. I mean, maybe different flavors, but like substance and mental health stuff, right? That we're both.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and so I think that in the day and age where we are right now, everyone, the media companies are definitely held to a higher standard than they used to be. Now a lot of them still do what they want to, but I think it is severely irresponsible to go in and highlight someone in the midst of their, you know,
nervous breakdown of some sort, or whatever
right.
it was.
If they're not in a place where they're better yet, and you're just leaving it.
Well, also, like, could she really consent to?
If she has question.
If she has like a conservator, which she did, and she doesn't even have access to her money, how can she say yes to being like filmed? Like, it didn't. That's. You know?
So then is it, and that leads to my next question. So then is it the conservator that really said we need to do this and convinced her to do it, and it wasn't something
But I think the conservator was like a person that she didn't know. I don't remember. Like, it's like someone that they bring in, but I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. I don't really remember.
All conjecture at this point. Like nobody hold us to any of this stuff. This is just all our what
we're winging it with that one.
But I mean, who doesn't? It's interesting, but I think Wendy is specifically. I can't think of another celebrity that like we could talk about where you have. I think many of us, I don't know if everybody, but you have compassion. There have been moments where we probably heard or saw her do or say stuff and be like, wow, what a you-know-what.
Yeah, totally.
Never thinking that you would be in a different place with your perspective on her.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I grew up worshiping her. Like, I would like listen to her on the radio when she had her radio show.
Oh, wow. So like you were OG.
Yeah,
fan.
OG. Like, wow. I was like, I am so into this woman. Like, I don't care if she's like doing shit. Like, she was just like her own person, and I don't know, she had a lot of those traits that like weren't exactly like feminine or whatever, just like being a boss, you know, and like listening to her like in the early 2000s and stuff. Like, I don't know, I felt like she was like inspirational in a lot of ways.
Yeah. She definitely, I think that like the way that she used, I mean, like, and to some extent, people use like acknowledge it or don't acknowledge it, publicity in the way that like sensationalism, like it's a muted way or it's a very overt way.
Yeah.
And she definitely was like, I'm gonna use that to my advantage. I think my favorite, sorry, this episode is about you, but I have to say this before we move on from Wendy. My favorite Wendy story is her conversation where Whitney Houston called in because she just could not.
No, me too. That was a really wild moment.
I mean, you thought that like I've listened to it so many times.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so you're convinced that she is like about to be like, and get ready because I'm serving you with papers for all the yada, yada, yada.
I know.
And then like ends with, but nothing but love and respect. Like, I love you, girl, and da 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 da, you know, and all this stuff. And
yeah.
it's just,
I know. She called her out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Speaking of getting called out, I'm curious, what has been a like pre-sobriety, post-sobriety? And let me go back 1 second. You mentioned it just, and this might confuse some people who may not have been on the whole podcast journey watching or listening to this show. So we started this show out years ago, and it was completely virtual until a year and a half probably ago. We moved to the studio and have a production staff now. And so you were one of our lovely, or earlier interviews that I got to connect with, and that's why we didn't meet until recently, because it was over the waves. And so I'm curious, pre-sobriety or post-sobriety or both, does anything stick out to you about like somebody who's called you out
on my shit?
On your shit, yeah. Like either your drunk behavior, your intoxicated behavior, or like I said, post-sobriety, these are the underlying causes and conditions that
like
alcohol did not.
Like a friend, or like my mom, or like someone on Instagram, or like...
So any of those, I mean, I'd be curious to know, because those are all completely different relationship styles. And also, was there anything public that sticks out to you that someone called you out for?
Okay, so people that are not in my life, that just know me from like a public standpoint, I don't give any credence to that. So do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that I just don't even like, they don't know me.
But if they're in your life, has that happened where someone that's in your life
called me out
you
publicly?
And it became public?
Not like, I mean, definitely like my mom. I mean, my mom like dragged me a few times,
really?
Like on the show. Yeah, for drink. Like she was definitely like, we had a conversation on the show about my drinking, and she was like, I don't like it. But I will say that my most recent ex-boyfriend read me for filth. Like really. And I had to like hear a lot of shit about myself that I'm like, you know what? You're right. I have made this relationship all about me, and I take up a lot of space in it. And if you don't like it, bye.
So we know where that went.
No, I'm just kidding. I listened to him and I heard him, and I mean, that's not why we broke up, but also it takes two. I'm sorry. Like you were like letting me do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like also you're an enabler who's like, doesn't want to talk about your own issues. So you're happy talking about mine all the time, or like what's going on in my life, but I do. Yeah. I have that like tendency to maybe like take up a lot of, like I have a lot of emotions. Well, less now that I'm on 15 milligrams of Lexapro. I love it. But I wasn't on that when me and him were dating, and I was like a emotional disaster. So I took up a lot of space in the relationship, and sometimes I worry that I take up a lot of space in my friendships and my relationship with my daughter and my mom, and who like I think about that.
So when you say, because people use that phrase to mean different things at different times. But when you say take up space in those relationships, can you kind of articulate what you mean?
Sure.
By that?
Okay. I mean, like my emotions, my needs, my life, my thoughts, my me. You know, that's what I mean when I take up space in the relationship. And with him, it was always about, I'm going through this crisis. My family member's going through that crisis. My dad's in the hospital. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, this is going on with work. Oh my God, now that's going on with work. I just had so many things happening. Like, and I guess I just talked about it too much or something. Like, I don't know, you know, I also think it's about dynamics, you know, like now there's like a new guy that I'm dating, and even though it's like kind of like it's casual, whatever, but I feel like he's always talking about what's going on with him, and I don't even talk about what's going on with me. So I think it depends also on the dynamic.
Well, and I would just throw out there, listening to what you just said, and say, like, based on my own experience, sometimes when we get like harsh feedback, like what you said that you received, we tend to go in the opposite direction, especially when we've been working on ourselves so long, because I think that, you know, you get sober and then you start buying into the whole, I'm not just staying sober, I want to enjoy my life on top of being sober, and I want to have peace. I want to have all the things that like recovery tells me I deserve and I can have. And you start to chase those things. You want to be better. You want to have this ideal of yourself being a good person. So when we get feedback that is like anything like on the level of like what you described, of course, the immediate like behavioral response, I think, for me would also be, okay, I have to be ultra cognizant about making myself smaller. And because I just don't want to be that. And so I'm curious if it's like, do you think that it's that dynamic? Is it really the dynamic between the two of you? Or do you think it's because you got like, it like freaked you out, and
with
you're
the new
just
guy?
Yeah. And you're
no, I think like, I'm like, I always say like, I'm sober, I'm not a saint. Like, just because I'm not like, this is the thing for me with sobriety. I'm like, I am like trying to be just like not drinking and like being in recovery. Like, you automatically like aren't as shitty, obviously. Like, you're just not doing as many shitty things, but I'm still myself, and I'm still dealing with all of the things and the reasons what all the things that I was trying to like run away from about myself are still there, you know? But I don't think that like this guy like made that much of a difference in what like in my behavior. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, that's true, but I mean, like, then say what's going on with you. I mean, I don't know. Like, I also had a up year, the year that me and him were dating. Right. And like, it doesn't come with like, it comes with a whole lot of other things you have to deal with. I'm sorry.
Well, and I mean, I think there's something to be said for being unapologetically you, for bringing it. Like, if you're like, I'm going to bring the authentic me, the version of me that is what it is, to the table. Like,
I don't hold back. I really don't. I've realized this, and especially now, like dating again. And I'm like, I talk about my other friend who's sober. When we like take our like compare notes on how we deal with men, like I realize I have to be a little more like her. She has to be a little more like me. Like, maybe I need to hold back a little more. Like, I'm like, excuse me, are you kidding me? You didn't da 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 da, and I'm upset because blah 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 blah. And I like let it all out. Like, I'm not like scared of like showing that I care, or like that I'm like offended, or like that I need more attention, or whatever it is. And she's the opposite, where she's just like hold it all in and like not show that like she gives a fuck at all. I'm like, girl, what? Like, how are you even doing that? Like, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to like dial it back a little, but she needs to like go in a little more. But I do definitely show up, and I'm just like, this is me.
I think that I'm laughing because I think that it's funny, you know, how opposites attract even as friends. And like, me and my best friend were just having this conversation yesterday about how like crazy, because he's sober also, and like we could not be more. I mean, like, the only similarities I think we probably have are that we're both white, gay men. Like, everything else about us is opposite. Night and day, you know, down to like how our behavior patterns and how we, like what you were saying with your friend. And, but I think like, I mean, it comes down to, you know, we talk about this all the time. It's like, we go from thinking that everything's got to be black and white, right or wrong, and there's like the healing really starts to happen when we realize there's so many shades of gray, and not holding ourselves to such extremes.
No, I know, and like that is kind of like the thing with like the like wellness and like recovery, like what's the word?
Culture, mindset.
Culture.
Yeah.
Thank you. Culture. Exactly. It's like too perfect. It's like not realistic. I'm like I was like, doing meth at age 14. Like, I'm just happy I'm alive. You know what I mean? I'm happy. I'm like, I have a roof over my head and I have like a great kid. Like, that is just so many like blessings in itself. It's like, if I keep, dating boys or whatever, like, who cares? Like,
Right.
I already have everything I need. Like, I'm not like looking for I just want to be good with myself. You know what I mean? And I feel good with myself, like I do. Like, of course there's always room for improvement. And like, I'm definitely like, there's a lot of room for improvement, but at the end of the day, it's like, if I die like next week or something, right? Like I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do.
No, that's all you can do. And I think that the goal is that, I mean, I hope that even I want to live really long. I want to be like a fun, like still hanging out, doing fun things, 90-year-old.
Me too.
I want to be Dick Van Dyke. Like,
oh my God, isn't he amazing?
Yes, I'm manifesting this.
God bless him.
When we go to take the show to Malibu this October, that he's like 60 years sober. I may be overstretching it a little.
I didn't know he was in recovery. I didn't know he was sober.
Yes.
Oh my God, how amazing.
So yeah.
And I see paparazzi pictures of him like on TMZ and stuff at the gym, and he's like.
So I go to a conference because I work in the field as well, and we have a conference at this monastery, and I don't know if I should be saying this out loud. It's fine. No, actually, it's fine. But I see him every year when I go to this conference because the monastery is inside his neighborhood, and we try like he wakes up, he does his morning walks, he's out like.
So
waving to everybody, and
I need to do morning. I would like to have like, that's the other thing. It's like, and also there is this like wellness culture, obviously, like my algorithm on like Instagram is created with the Huberman and like, all of the like health, like, wake up and like take a look in the sun and get the sun, and then just, there's the whole thing, eat protein, do this, do that. It's just like, sometimes it's just like so much. I'm just trying to like not chain smoke 5 cigarettes when I wake up in the morning, which now I haven't been smoking, but like sometimes that's what I do. Like, and I'm still like spiritual. Like I can still like, I'm still a good person. You know what I mean? But I do need a better morning routine. I do just like wake up and like go on Instagram. It's not good.
I agree that
and
that
then,
is
like,
not
chug like 3 cups
the best.
of coffee. No.
I think that something that I wouldn't even say that this is a mantra, but it's been a theme and a conversation I've been having with people either on the show, off the show, about the show, whatever, about because the topic, like there's so much between like in our circles, what we're talking about, like, oh, how are you taking care of yourself better? What's the newest way, what's the newest morning routine, this or that.
Right.
And all the things you just listed was this roller coaster of like, okay, well, how are you grounding self? Are you looking in the sun at this point? Are you all this? And I remember early on in recovery, there's some specific things that in the 12-step communities, they are very strongly suggested that you do these things every morning when you get, when you wake up. And I think that it's, at the beginning, there's some goodness to the, I don't know, for most of us before we get sober, there's like not,
there's like,
we're like chaotic, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no, like bringing it back to, here's some simple, do this, don't miss it.
Like making
whatever.
your bed.
Yeah. Like hit your knees or what, yeah. And, but I think like the longer I stayed sober, the more I felt like whatever I'm learning are the healthy, like, peel back layers of the onion, or you're learning the new whatever to ground yourself and whatnot. It's this all or nothing of I should be, should. And I think that the reality is that we go in and out of these waves of like pulling tools from somebody else that brings them up and being like, that's awesome, helps you for a little while, and you use it. And then you go through a bout where maybe you're smoking, chain smoking in the morning, not great for you. But no. For whatever reason, that might be the coping tool that is helping you get through whatever until the next thing comes along. And I think that we can be our own worst enemy by like just tearing ourselves to pieces because we don't have the picture perfect routine that is like the image of, you know what I mean?
I know. And meanwhile, but some people I've met in recovery, and I've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like since for a long time. Some people I've met some people who are the worst people in the world. And I've met some of the best people in the world. It's just because you're in recovery doesn't mean like you got it together or you're a good person. There's still sociopaths in recovery, of course, and narcissists and all of the above, It's not a hotbed of mental health, as they say, right? So, and there's a lot of people that aren't in recovery that never had addiction issues that are recovering from other things, right? That are still going to therapy and doing their thing and have a morning routine of some sort, So, I like to think that, that the people that aren't in recovery, they're dealing with the same shit we are, minus obviously the addiction brain that we have or whatever it is. They still have to deal with a lot of the same things we deal with.
Sure.
Right.
Well, and there's so many themes about like, you take the substance away.
Yeah.
What are the number one, I forget what his name, that coined the phrase, the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah. Right.
And so when you look at some of the other things that many people struggle with, I would say a majority of our society struggle with that either don't know or wouldn't admit, or they do know and they do admit, that trauma or mental health diagnoses that at the core, those do disconnect us in some way, shape, or form from fully being able to be authentic. They have their own shame and stigma that accompany them.
Yep.
And then there's the relationship with self that gets eaten away if we don't start having a healthy, if we don't have a therapeutic approach that's telling us the reinforcement of positive nature.
Think about how many people have porn addictions, food addictions, work addictions. Obviously these affect people differently than if you're doing drugs or drinking, but it's all very similar. And it's pleasure center of the brain. It's escaping. It's not dealing with your emotions.
So I love that you brought that up because have you seen Inside Out?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so and I think that this was not one that came in it was in both. That Joy, I think, was in both the 1 and 2. But for me, I'm a Leo, Enneagram 7. I'm the extrovert.
I didn't know that Wait, you've done the Enneagram?
Yeah.
Wait, I've gone to weekend workshops on it. I was majorly into the Enneagram.
Ian Cron is he's the godfather of
who?
The dude who came up with it. He's here. This is his home base. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Or at least one of them. I don't know. He's here all the time.
I'm 8 with a 7 wing.
Oh. Love that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like our birthdays where I was like, oh, you're a Leo. You're like,
wait,
nah.
Are you 7 with an 8 wing or a 6 wing?
So every time that I've done a, the various forms of testing for it, it comes out different.
Interesting.
So I always get in my head and I'm like, what does that say about me that I'm not consistent with my wings. So I don't know. This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help. Joy and being an extrovert and loving, like I love, we were talking about this last night, the whole like connection, the difference between the two people, two of our friends that are like, one needs to,
the way they recharge
is 4 days alone. And the other one is like being around people basically. And I'm the be around people. I'm learning and adapting to, you know, like the stints of you know, calm, serenity, separation, that kind of stuff. But for me, it's like I have to force myself to do, like,
to be in solitude.
I have to like almost put it in my schedule.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't come natural to me.
I have to force myself to socialize. It's like the opposite. Like I cancel everything. I'm like, no, I can't. I have a lot of, I understand from the fact that I have a lot of people in my life that I feel like are similar to that in that regard. But also I didn't know that that's who I was until I got sober.
Because when
I was such a party girl, I just wanted to be out.
Isn't it so interesting how and
now I'm like, I love being alone.
That's one of the biggest blessings is like you stay sober long enough. And I'm almost at 14 years. And let me tell you, I've learned more about myself because of what I've been able to go through in my healing process. I would say in the past year, than probably all of everything before that. Since day one of. And so if you get sober and you feel like you're not getting it, or you feel like, you know, other people are, you know, and now I'll say this, I felt like I was growing along the way, and I definitely was. But like, don't get it twisted that any period of length of sobriety that you are, or healing that you go, that you're done. Like there are different levels that will surprise you, and you're not ready till you're ready. And I was not ready until, the catalyst for me was going through the divorce last year for me. And so, and you know, it was a blessing in disguise. I don't know if you would call that disguise, but so healing, finding myself, being an extrovert. The point is, I'm bringing this back to I was telling you about the show that we recorded the other night. Charles Kelly, he was talking about how one of his things was pre-sobriety, but especially post-sobriety, of the high of highs, like chasing whatever gives you the dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine rush. And I was like, you know, that for me, because I've been able to identify, back to Inside Out, joy. It's like my favorite emotion. And I would associate that mostly with things that give, like, I'm not like a thrill seeker, that kind of stuff, but like things that are really exciting. I love to scare people. I love surprises. I love doing new things. I love, you know, all that stuff. But long way of saying that we're talking about all the stuff that can be unhealthy. At the end of the day, I think it's imbalance, because what he and I were talking about and bonded over was that you take the substance out and there are different forms of things. And for us, it was whatever we could do, even if it was like connecting some way with a certain human, or saying yes to something that really wasn't with our schedule, that was the right thing, because it felt like the most exciting, and all we wanted to do is what brought the most joy and the most excitement. And revelation for me and from him, like we're literally mirroring off of each other, same experience, was like, yeah, but if I don't leave room for processing sadness, grief, pain, loneliness.
Yeah.
There's that one I can never see, the purple emotion. She's like, I don't care about anything. She's the French one.
Like apathy.
On the way, I think is.
I don't know what that is.
I didn't either till the.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like very. It is like apathetic.
Yeah.
But it's from like it's more than just apathy, and I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, but giving it a French voice was the perfect character line for that. But yeah, I mean, like that.
But also, don't you feel like for me, my baseline was so like I have always been like a dopamine addict and like a thrill addict. And for like when I was in my teens, it was like doing like super hard drugs and like acid and, you know, just crazy shit and like having really crazy behavior. And then in my early 20s, like it was like starting a business that I had no idea what I was doing. And then like having a kid really young. And it was like, you know, just these like big, like my life was such a roller coaster, I guess, that now sometimes it's hard. I'm almost so used to high highs and low lows that when it's just like kind of calm and I just don't even know what to do.
It feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Or it feels like I'm just like, what is this? You know? I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's where exactly where I was leading to is the, like, I think a huge place to get to in a healing journey, whether you're healing from addiction or whatever. I mean, you might not be an adrenaline junkie. You might be somebody that loves to stay, you feel most comfortable thinking about how much the world sucks.
Right. You might be just so used to just being negative thinking. And that was me also, actually. I don't do that anymore. And I really try not to. But like, I'm also just a constant state of worrying. I mean, also going on Lexapro changed my life, I have to say. Like, how long ago did you do that?
So
I was on it for a long time and then went off of it. And then like was on like another medication. Like just wasn't doing anything. And then like I went back on it a few months ago after like 3 years or 4 years, 3 years of not being on it and 3 years of like hell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, why the hell didn't I go back on it? I just thought it had stopped working for me, but it really did. I mean, it's when you find something that, and this is not an ad. I don't work for Lexapro because it's obviously different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people love, you know, Prozac, like whatever, different things work for different people, but this is like a game changer for me, game changer. Like my nervous system is like so much calmer. Like my obsessive thinking is so much less. Like I would obsess over things and couldn't stop. It was like horrible, but yeah, brain's a funny thing.
It is. And I think that that's such a testament to, you know, whenever we bring up just in conversations in general or on this show, psych meds, the brain is like, as we age, which I hate talking about, but no, but it's true. As we age and we go through life, the brain goes through its own process of doing different things.
Chemicals change, hormones, just everything.
External influences also,
yes,
you know, impact our brain. And so it's one of the biggest reasons why, you know, I will say I am not a psychiatrist, but I can tell you with 100% assuredness that you should not be on a psych med, getting it from your primary care provider,
oh my God, no.
and not getting at least doing a reassessment regularly.
Yeah,
even if it's with them. I know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't have extra money to go to a psychiatrist or whatever.
A PCP, like a primary care physician giving psych meds is, I know it happens and it's like whatever. And honestly, if that's the only way, then like better than,
right.
Right.
But if you're
Not that
sitting back
psychiatrists
thinking
really know
that
what they're
because it worked at the beginning,
Yeah.
and they prescribed it, and then you're not and a lot of PCPs don't necessarily go back and say, how are you? They don't ask the bullet points of all the questions that should be asked about how the medication's working.
But
so
also, I will say, like, psychiatrists also like really don't know what they're doing. I mean,
and that's the part
because they have to keep throwing medication at you also.
Yes,
like,
and that's the part where I think no matter who your provider is, this is as a, and this is going to lead us to what I know next, but this is as a, a veteran medical patient. I'm not a veteran from fighting. A veteran meaning like I've been through. I've been through all the battles, so many of them physically, and lived in the hospital for so many things. So whether you're talking about biological in your body or psych meds, I mean, I really don't care how good your providers are. Ultimately, you have to be your own advocate.
It's so true.
And what that means is, as much as possible that you can, articulating how you're feeling, whether it's physical and or mental, regularly when you're talking to them, because they don't know. They don't know. Medicine, it's called practice for a reason. They're always practicing till the day they retire.
I mean, I had a shrink once tell me, he's like, psychiatry is the wild, wild west. We don't understand how any of these medications work. And I was just like, thank you for being honest. Mm-hmm. Like, you can understand how they work, but some don't work for everybody.
Exactly.
Like,
and some work completely different.
What if you don't have a serotonin issue?
Right.
Right? Like, what if you don't? I mean, it's just,
I was one of those that went through, there's a real small percentage of us that all the like SSRIs and the norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors and I have. Did
you have some crazy reaction to it?
To all of them. Like, there was never one that they gave me that I didn't have the side effects.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the side effects stuck around. And a lot of, some people experience more that, what do they call it? The threshold, the beginning where you take it. A lot of the time you have a few weeks where.
That's like that. I mean,
you have to break through.
Yeah.
And, mine was exacerbated and it never lifted with every single med we tried. And so for me, it was very discouraging. Yeah, it was very discouraging.
At least you didn't have like a manic episode or something, because that can happen to people on SSRIs.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I've probably had a few manic episodes aside from, but, speaking of mental health, what's been going on since last time you were on the show, and physical health?
Wait, I don't even remember when I was last on the show.
Well, it was sometime between now and 4 years ago.
Okay. It was probably a couple years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got bit by a tick I have Lyme disease, which is like kind of a new thing, which
Wait, do you know where it happened? Like, were you able to narrow it down?
I mean, I narrowed it down, and I'm pretty sure it happened like the last weekend of March, even though I never saw a tick and I never like saw like the bullseye rash that like you're supposed to get. But that was like a real weird one. It's still weird because my legs are still, like, I'm still having like residual like side effects, even though I caught it like a couple months in and I took the medication, but it's just.
What was your first sign that?
Oh my God. Couldn't get out of bed for 4 days. I was so tired. My legs were throbbing, aching. I had crazy tinnitus and I was really dizzy, like crazy vertigo. I thought I had like an ear infection or like the flu or something, So that's been making me really, I always cared about my health, but whatever. I still am eating fast food sometimes, but like, when you have Lyme, like you have to really go extra with your health, because that bacteria loves sugar and like loves...
Actually, no, I didn't know about all the things you have to do with, so
it's kind of like you have it forever, and the thing is, I did also read though that like if you catch it soon and you take the medication only like 10% of people will still feel things, but my legs are still hurting. So I had to figure that out, and I'm still really tired a lot. But it's so hard to know sometimes, like, well, are my legs hurting because I need to stretch more? Gym, no, I haven't really been doing that.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's the Lyme. It's pretty like Lyme. I didn't really know much about Lyme until I realized that I had it. And it is up. It is like really fucked up. Like it really fucks people up.
The cases and we were talking about this yesterday, the cases I know about are the Yolanda and the Gigi, or is it
Bella
Gigi?
Hadid.
Bella. Yeah. Like, I don't know that I've had people close to me in my life.
Well, maybe you guys don't have it down here.
Oh no, we do, and we
it?
have tons of ticks.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of deer here?
Yes.
Because that's where I think the ticks are on the deer, and the deer is like where the deer are. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of deer in Connecticut, obviously, and like in Long Island and stuff. So people get bit. Upstate. I mean, there's a lot of people. I didn't realize just how many people are dealing with like chronic Lyme disease and like how debilitating it is. And I'm like so grateful that I like happened to meet a naturopath doctor. Shout out Dr. Susan, who I had met her randomly at Whole Foods, and she wanted me to get all these tests done, and I was like, well, I feel okay, so why am I going to do it? But then I started feeling sick. And I'm like, maybe I do need to do it. But if I had never met her, I would have never have gotten a Lyme test.
Wow.
Ever. No one was thinking I had Lyme. Like
that's
no one.
So crazy. Because I feel like the cases that I'm talking about, like the same thing, that nobody thought it until it was like screaming.
I honestly thought I needed like new psych meds. I was like, oh, I'm having a mental breakdown or something. Like,
so now that you mentioned that, like, how did it affect your mental health?
I was having panic attacks for the first time in like 2 years, or like a year. I was having, I was crying every single day. I was hysterical my nervous system. I was so sensitive to everything, like everything. I thought I was losing my mind. I went to a ketamine clinic. I didn't do it, but I talked to the ketamine doctor, and I gave him, he was the only doctor that said, you sound like you have Lyme disease. Like,
wow.
He said that.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like, but you should still do ketamine, which I'm open to doing. But I realized what I had. I was like, I'm not depressed. Mm-hmm. Like I have Lyme disease.
Yeah. And did, after, like during treatment, like how did it, what was the progression of doing treatment and then noticing a difference with your mental health?
Well, I also ended up going on Lexapro.
That's when you went back.
It was around the same time. Like I took the doxycycline, which is what they give you for 3 weeks, which is also like hell. And then I went on Lexapro like a month later or something. So it was like, I've had a big awakening. Mm-hmm. It's like a big health awakening, you know?
Is Lyme's technically is it a virus or is it a bacteria?
It's a bacteria.
Which is why, because doxycycline is an antibiotic.
It is. Yeah, it's an antibiotic. Yeah. I also it was so weird when I was taking the doxycycline, like maybe 3 days in, that's when you have this, you could possibly have something called herxing. And it's when the bacteria dies and is floating around in your body, and it makes you feel 10 times worse. Ooh. And this is so weird, but I thought I had like a 30-second psychosis.
Really?
It was only 30 seconds though. But I kept seeing the same word over and over again. Uh-huh. This is so weird, but that's because it was on the license plates of the cars. And I had gone upstate with my boyfriend at the time to like go to his sister's graduation. Why I did this, I don't know. I was trying to recover from Lyme, but I promised that I would do it. And I kept seeing the same word over and over, Excelsior or Excelsius. I can't remember. And it's the word that's on like the New York State license plates, which I'd never noticed before. Huh. And then we drove by a building that had the same word on it. And I was like, thought I was going crazy. I don't know. It was really weird. It was almost like I was on acid. That's the only thing I can like compare it to. But and I was like, no, you're fine. Like, this is just like the Lyme. It was really weird.
How great that you were able to like talk yourself, through that. And it wasn't that long.
Yeah, it's all because it's like, okay, because it's like, there's always like that voice that's like, you're just bugging out. Even when I'm like feeling depressed or like anxious, it's like, then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, but you're going to feel better tomorrow, right?
Yes.
I can't remember. It's like the shadow self. I don't know if that's like the same thing, but you know, we have like different parts of ourselves, right?
Yes. And I think that again, that goes to the, once we get sober or once we start working on ourselves, we have the opportunity to learn, because some people never utilize or wake up that part of themselves that gets to step in and say, remember, there are times, it's like in the middle of a storm, the voice that says, no, but remember, there are sunny days, storms end.
Right, exactly.
But if you think that like this Titanic sized storm is going to last forever, why keep
going?
Yeah. And God, that being able to have that voice is so important.
So important. So important.
Speaking of things that keep you going, like, and you know, we've been talking about you know, life since we last had you on the show. What has like brought you joy, got you excited? You know, like what when you look back over the past couple years of this part of your journey, anything stick out for you that
my relationship with my daughter. Yeah, like getting to watch my daughter like become a young woman, and like we're starting to look for colleges for her, and I'm just like so grateful that she hasn't like had to go through like addiction stuff, to be honest. Like I know everyone has their own journey, and like, you know, she has her own higher power and all those things, but I'm like really happy like she hasn't had to deal with that kind of shit, you know? I'm kind of like getting to like live vicariously through her or something, you know? Like it just makes me really happy that she's like a happy kid, you know? So that's been great. And honestly, like my sober community, like in New York, you know, like I really have become a part of like, I probably in a way that I've never done it in sobriety before, but I have a network of people and like really lean into it in a way that I never did in my sobriety in the past. And that's been like fun. Like I've been having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you, when you say lean in, do you mean like
be open to friendships with new people, you know, going to more meetings.
It's not just saying hi when you go to the meeting.
Right. No, like hanging out outside of it, you know, outside of that world. And also like getting to start over. Like I feel like I've started over in a lot of ways. And that's been really cool.
When you say that, I think a lot of people think different things. For them, that like that term means something different. For me, I'm gonna say my definition, and I'd love to hear what you mean by that. That like, I look at that as like a shedding of old belief systems about yourself, about the world, and how the two coexist and relate.
Yes. And like, I will say that like I don't know when we talked before. When was I on the show? Do you remember? Was it like?
It was, I mean, I want to say it was like late 2020 or like the beginning of 2021.
Okay. So in January of 2022 or like, January 2022, I had what I now call, I'm calling it an awakening. It was the most painful, horrible feeling thing I've ever gone through. I don't know I can't really explain what happened because I'm trying to figure it out. But it was an awakening, you know, where my body was like sending me signals. Like my body and my soul almost like moved apart from each other because I was living my life in a way that was not meant for me at all. And I then had to like shed so many things I thought that I thought about myself, things I thought I wanted out of my life, things I thought about myself, things that I thought I wanted for my life, and caring about what people thought about me, you know, like all of that. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional now. Can I have a tissue? I don't want to mess my makeup up.
I would say sorry, but I love it when people cry.
You know, I never cry on Lexapro anymore, which is so
you're welcome because
so I must be really feeling right now, you know. But
I have friends that will like they're like, I need to cry. I've got to watch this movie because otherwise I won't. They've got their like go-tos.
Oh my God. Ghost is the movie for me that makes me cry every time. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Okay. The tissues are coming.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. You're so sweet. It was really like, I'm crying because I'm like relieved, but I'm also like crying because I'm like, it's sad what I put myself through. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I put myself through. I was bad. I was not good to myself, you know, like, and I like betrayed myself in a lot of ways and like, I never will again. And that's like when I also recommitted to sobriety in a different way in 2022 when I started my day count over. And even though I hadn't drank, you know, in maybe a couple years before that, I had stopped drinking in 2020. I was still like not being totally honest about like drugs once in a while. And I don't mean like, you know, I wasn't like doing blow or anything, but just like cheating, like just like little cheating things. Like I was not careful with and I wasn't, I was like reckless, you know, but also like, I was also betraying myself in other ways with like what I was putting at like the top of like me being important, you know? I know I'm speaking vaguely, but like, am I making sense?
Are you able to speak on that?
I mean, just in terms of just like superficial bullshit, you know? And like, yeah, of course, like working in a place that was just like really against a lot of my like values and like
yes
you know, so
I know what you mean.
Accepting being treated in a way at work and in other parts of my life that I was not okay with, you know, seeing things around me happen that were not okay. I'm fucking sensitive as you know what I mean? Like I really am. Like, you know, I have a side of me that's like a badass bitch, and then I have a side of me that is like, I am sensitive. Like, that's why I need to lock myself up in my house for days on end sometimes to just be like,
Yeah.
So I might not be able to cope with things that are like really like not that I'm not with, you know, like I see things go down. If I'm not like with it, it's going to affect me in a way that might not affect other people. They might have more lubricant to deal with it, you know?
I was going to say, have you ever heard of the HSP, like a highly sensitive person? I know that sounds so simple. Like, is that really a thing?
I'm definitely an HSP.
But it's actually a clinical term of...
Well, also sounds. Like, I'm very sensitive to sounds.
What is it? Massive dysphonia? No help there? No? Okay. No help from production on that one.
And I don't like being like, sometimes like, can you turn it down? Like, I'm like very sensitive to sound.
So like if you're sitting in a quiet whatever and somebody's opening a candy wrapper behind you and it's
not
taking
that.
too long?
No, it's more about, it's not that. It's like, I know because some people get like annoyed by like chewing sounds and stuff. Like my daughter hates the way I chew, but it's just like noisy places. Like I'm like, like I can't deal with this, you know, but anyway, so I've had to like really rebuild, you know, I've had to really rebuild and like rebuild my self-esteem and my self-worth and like,
well, just pause for a second or elaborate here before we go into the rebuilding self-worth, because I love that you talked about identifying and shedding the pattern of betraying yourself. And when you initially say that, I go to a place of like, okay, so what were you doing to yourself? What were your actions that you were doing? And what you just described were things that I don't think people necessarily go to. At least I don't initially, but it's so true, which is repeatedly allowing others to violate you,
1,000%.
take advantage of you,
and not like, and feel like I couldn't like I felt like I didn't have a choice.
So when there's a power differential of any kind, which for those who, this is a word that we throw around in like certain, not everybody talks about like what a power differential is, right? But like it's the basic, right? Somebody has any level of higher influence, more money, more power, whatever, over you. And when that exists, there is like an unspoken manipulation that can be taken advantage of very easily. And I think that like there's like it, how do you, when you're receiving something in a situation like, and I know we're being somewhat vague to not for certain reasons that are important. Okay. But when you're in an environment where there's a power differential and you are receiving something, whether it's a compensation of any, whether it's emotional compensation, whether it's financial compensation, whether it's whatever, but you've got an entity or a person or whatever that there's the power differential there. There's the unspoken, but you're getting. And so where is this entitlement coming from? So that dynamic shows up in abusive relationships of every level.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the backwoods of Tennessee with a sweet little wife that her husband beats her all the time, or the office place. And so that's why I kind of wanted to elaborate on that for a second, because it's a theme that I think many people overlook. Betraying yourself can look like so many different things. And God, I hope somebody hearing that today, that light switch flips for them and they're like, maybe I can take one step towards disallowing this.
Yeah. Start
making a plan, start something. Because it's no way to live.
No way.
It's no way to live.
No, it'll really break you, at some point.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it's like, you're lucky if it breaks you in the way it broke you.
Yes.
Because eventually, like, there's different levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
fortunately, yours was one where you were able, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To have wherewithal
an
to
awakening,
make decisions,
right? To like, and not, and to be like, okay, I'm done with this. Actually, this is not good.
So taking, you have the awakening, and then you start to make decisions to take better care of yourself and go in the opposite direction. But are you able to articulate what that looked like?
Yeah, that was therapy. Recommitting to my sobriety in a completely different way. Being open to like changing, just like being open to it, acceptance, like so much acceptance, like also ego death. I got so humbled. I didn't want to be, but I did, on so many levels. And it was the best thing. At the time, it was horrible, but it was great,
What parts of you have you found? Because so much of the time, I know we talk about ego death all the time, and it's like, working on killing off
I mean, I still have an ego, obviously.
We wouldn't be a whole person. You need some. But that unleveled sense, an overinflated sense of ego prevents us from, as an overinflated sense of many other things, right? Like prevents us and blocks us from getting to the so much of who we really are at the core. So I'm curious, like, as the pain and grief of that part of you dying that you thought was who you were.
Yeah.
What stuff have you noticed about yourself that's been behind that?
That's a good question. I think I just like want different things now because I'm like pleasing a different part of myself that's like more authentic, you know, like,
I think you just hit the nail on the head, because while you were no bullshitter back in the day and a Hard Knocks, like you weren't from the streets, but in a way you grew up like being like in New York.
Yeah.
You were a hard ass.
Yeah.
Like you would walk down. I mean,
like New Yorkers are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that highly sensitive part of you has always been there from how you've described it. And
I'm honoring that part of myself a lot more now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where before so much of, because it's funny, it's like the ego looks like so much when it's overinflated, especially when you're in front of a camera and you're constant and all those things. It seems like self-centeredness, all these things and whatever, but who were you really? Like there was so much of the intertwined ego, but like who you were constantly working to.
I couldn't honor this part of myself in that environment, obviously, and because it's so toxic and like it's so like demoralizing and like negative, and you have to just be ready for like someone to try to ruin your life, or you have to ruin someone else's life kind of thing. How the could I ever be a healthy, happy person in touch with my sensitive side?
That's a really
how the could that even happen?
That's a really weird form of codependency. Like hypervigilant. Do you know what I mean? Like, like the kind of codependency is like because you're either causing something or on high alert for defense.
It's
a type of hypervigilance that I think is like, it's.
Oh my God. There's
a reason
it's
why.
It's like fight or flight nonstop.
Yeah.
Negative. Oh my God. I can't even, it's so bad. It's so gross. It's all so gross. It really is.
It is so exploitative.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too, but it's bad.
I'm so glad that you had that awakening and that journey. And, to be honest, like, it's interesting when I think back to, I have memory issues, and a lot of my, at this point I've had so many interviews and a lot of them I can't remember, but yours really sticks out to me. Do I remember everything we talked about? No, but I do remember themes, and I remember a lot of where you were, like in your mental state, and like how you emotionally where you were and things like that. And the person sitting with me today, and that I've gotten to spend the last 20 something hours with, it's beautiful to see how
am I so different?
Yes. I think that if I had to describe, if somebody were to ask me, I'd be like, this person loves themselves so much more.
Oh, good. That's great. That's so nice to hear.
And that's not me like shitting on
I know
who you were then.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that every 4 years someone can say the same thing about again.
Yeah. Well, also we went through a global pandemic. Right. I mean, there was so many things that we've all gone through collectively, and it's made some people probably worse, and then some people have taken the opportunity to hopefully be better. I don't know. I want to be off the grid. I'm honestly, that's my goal.
I live in the heart of New York City, but I want to be off the grid, guys. Okay.
I do. I honestly, my dream is to like be a rich recluse. I'm not
where there
kidding.
aren't any ticks.
No, because I don't want to like live off the grid in like a shack. You know what I mean? I need to live off the grid like properly.
What's the place in Wyoming?
Jackson Hole.
Jackson Hole. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to live off the grid in Jackson Hole.
Let me know when you're. I'll try
Come
and
visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billionaire cowboy. He's out there.
So maybe you will, since you're coming back to meet your future husband here.
Yes.
Or
somewhere.
Or partner or boyfriend or whatever. Maybe he's going to have a second home or a primary in Wyoming.
I think he might.
I mean, I'm all about manifesting.
I think he has like 10 homes and one of them's in Jackson Hole.
I love that. I love that journey for you. Slash us because I'm coming to visit.
No, because honestly, me, like, I don't not me, but me having to buy 10 homes, that's too much working. That is way too much working.
That's like
this is the new me now,
right? For someone
I'm done being an independent
kind of money
woman
in your life, in like if you weren't born into it,
that's a lot of work.
That is like
no, that is too much. Yeah. I don't want to be. No.
Can you also imagine though having 10 homes and like
that might be too many. 3 is good. I mean, 10 is a little excessive.
Like,
oh my God, how much upkeep that is and how much that monthly like nut is.
When you were saying earlier about how like Connecticut, the Hamptons and things like so.
What I was saying, everyone had a
lot of people have Lyme disease there.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those are people's like second or third or fourth homes, right?
Yeah.
So they're shuttered during when they're not there.
Yeah.
So it would almost make sense to me because like, yeah, of course they have those little critters getting all up in their stuff because their house is closed down for a good portion of the year and then they go back.
That is.
And the bugs are like, excuse me.
Yep. Like, excuse me, we're infecting you now.
What are you doing?
Yeah, where have you been?
We live here the majority of the time.
So
I'm
true.
missing your Airbnb reservation.
Right,
it did not show up on our app. Oh my gosh. So I think that I want to ask you now because we're kind of closing, getting towards the end of our time. What today is the big thing that you're working on, focusing on as far as like taking care of yourself or even just like hoping to move towards next?
I mean, I think it's like thinking about what I want to do that's going to fulfill me career-wise, creatively. Like I wish it was like, I'm going to help people, but like, like I wish that was my answer, but just like creatively, like what I want to do, and getting like my daughter into college.
You know what? I think that you like when you have a good heart and you're doing like the byproduct of loving yourself, living authentically and doing what you can do what you love. And by doing the work on yourself, it is so surprising how the fruit of that labor ends up. You're like, you find out how much you're actually doing good for people.
No, I think others. So too.
So, I mean, even this, but I'm excited to, since a young age, you've been you started a business how old were you? At
22. Yeah.
And so your book is definitely not even halfway through. So yeah. I'm looking forward to the next chapters. And is there anything like coming down the pipe right now that like is kind of secret, but you can tell us about?
No, not really. Oh, there really isn't. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But I have to ask, Yeah. But also I love that you're in just in this place of just like, I'm enjoying being me, resting and just finding,
I am.
and, your sweet kid getting to be the best mom for her.
Yeah. Trying my best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm f***ing her up somehow, but not too bad.
What
that's
parents
just
aren't?
no, exactly. I mean, that's just something I've like come to accept,
I think the parents
she loves the shit out of me, that kid, though. She really does. Like, she's my biggest like advocate, and like I just had like a work situation, like I can't get like into details, and I told her like, can you believe XYZ happened? She's like, Mom, and like she just like f***ing like gave me like the best like words of like, she just validated me like she's the best. She's the f***ing best. We got not matching tattoos. We got tattoos together, which was like the most. She got an L for my name.
Oh, what'd you get?
Well, I got my niece's name on me, but I already have her name. So
cute. Is the red one
This is my niece.
That's cool. I don't know that I've ever seen a red tattoo
ink,
before. Yeah. That is very cool.
Yeah. But that was like such a like nice moment, and we went to like Wyoming together. It's just been we've been having it's just great with her.
Heck yeah.
That's everything. It's really all that matters.
Yes, it is. Like when you think back to like, again, the gift of like, if you're going to do this thing called life, if you have an opportunity to heal your familial relationships, not everybody does, but if you do, I mean, like the gift of that being changing course.
And also like me and my mom, I mean, I'm very close to my mom, but like we've had a very volatile like relationship for so many years. Yeah, I was like, abusing drugs and alcohol, and like that was like a huge reason why it was volatile. But then even like when I got sober in 2009, it became also very like intense and like not healthy. We're good now, but I do have a relationship with my daughter that's also a friendship that I like never got with my mom. That I always like wanted, like that I saw like other people like.
Is your mom still living?
She is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
much so.
What's your relationship with your parents?
It's good. Like it's good. I mean, I don't like they're like getting older.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like my dad just like fell for like the third time and like had like a third hip surgery and like had a traumatic brain injury from like hitting the ground so hard. Like they're getting like, and my poor mother like has to like take care of it. It's just, I have a lot of like compassion like for my mom and my dad too. Like,
Same.
I really do.
They?
They're 73 and 72.
Oh, dang. Mine are 80 and 81.
Oh, okay.
And
it's like hard parents aging. Like I can't keep yelling. I can't keep fighting with them. Like I'm a teenager. I just can't anymore. It's like it's gone. I'm 42. It's enough. Like
when I say I have had to like what has forced me into the like going back to the like radical acceptance and letting go of things I can't control. There has not been anything since it was me practicing this in early sobriety for the first time as extreme as my parents aging and all the things of me having to let go of their and I have a great relationship with them. I love them to pieces, but I mean the truth is the same for everybody. As we get older, we turn more childish.
Yeah.
And the children become the parents.
Right.
And the balancing act of trying to still give them the help them maintain their integrity and autonomy.
Yeah.
While saying like, how much do we step in and say this, you might need more help with this decision because it feels like you're just being stubborn and it's not the best for your welfare.
Right.
And there's been a lot of that. And so anyway, I can really bond with some people over that whole thing of just like, because I heard a joke the other day, sent it to my parents, and they freaking loved it, talking about how like, this is my first time aging, that, you know, you don't get to practice. I'm like, that, she said a lot funnier than that, but and it was this lady who's like 90 years old, and
that's amazing.
It was a bunch of old people humor, but like I was listening to it through the eyes of the child with aging parents, thinking, same, like,
right.
You don't get like, you get one shot at this being the best kid you can be to this set of parents that's the only ones you have. Yep. And they're gone when they're gone.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know. That's it, you know? So I do want to show up for them.
Yeah. They live like what, upstate?
They live in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't really get to see them that much, you know, but my dad's like in a like rehab, learning how to walk again, or I actually don't, but I call him every day and check in, and I mean, I only talk to him for like 5 minutes.
Are they on the FaceTime?
Sometimes I FaceTime with them, but not really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine, I'm surprisingly enough, they're
they like the FaceTime?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
They do. I mean, now, like, once it's on.
My dad doesn't even have an iPhone. My father. No, I don't know what he has. He has some weird phone. He loves Instagram, though.
That's awesome.
He loves it.
My parents don't have the Instagram app, but so I'll send them links to things that I think that they would like, and I guess it opens on an internet browser for them. Right. And God bless my mom's heart. So like she does FaceTime, but once she's on the call, she doesn't know what, like, so if something happens and it goes off the screen, or she gets the emoji like thing that covers your face, she's an octopus for the rest of the conversation. Like, you're not.
That's so cute.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, Leah, thank you. Like, I am so grateful for you, and
grateful for you.
In that you're in this world showing up for yourself, showing up for your family, and the people that you're coming across, both in real life and media spaces, and for saying yes when you're asked to do things like this. I'm also so glad that you're in this place of self-love and healing.
Me too.
That it's this continuing. That's not always the story for everybody once we start. So, last word of encouragement for somebody who's just identified with some of the bullshit you've said today.
Yeah. Like, there's only 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, tomorrow is a new day. That's it. That's all. That's whenever I'm having like a shit day, I'm like, I get to start over again tomorrow. Thank God.
I love that. Because what I hear in one word, grace.
Yeah.
Grace.
I love that word.
And powerful.
Yeah.
So true and so necessary. Thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you.
I will close out how I always do and remind y'all that it's never too late to start loving yourself. And you're always only one decision away from a completely different life. This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.